Okay, we're back in action, working on some brakes here. I pulled apart the calipers from the caliper brackets so that I could paint them. And as you'll notice, I put the calipers and knuckles and caliper brackets on some cardboard and sprayed them down with some just parts store caliper paint. It went pretty well. I flipped them over, repeated the process, put a few coats on there because you can't really have enough of them. As you saw in the video there, I did go ahead and squirt them down with some brake cleaner ahead of time because most of the stuff, when you get it new, quote new, remanufactured, whatever, from the parts store, it does have some coating on there, and the paint's not going to stick to that, so you do have to clean those up. But nonetheless, it was a good start to getting some new brakes and front suspension on the car, really. Next, the wheels came off to expose the axles. Use a pair of needle nose or equivalent type pliers to remove the cotter pin, and then the, I guess, anti-rotation nut, whatever you want to call the little safety nut on there. And then it's going to be a 32 millimeter nut to take off that axle nut. Once you do that, it's time to start pulling apart the brakes. Now, of course, these are the smaller 10-inch brakes. I unfortunately had to whack a socket onto the caliper pin. This is a single caliper pin setup here that's in the car. It's got to go in favor of the dual pin 11-inch brakes. This is kind of an easy way to identify, honestly, if you've got big brakes or not. All of our big brake cars had 2 pins up front. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's a guarantee that it's big brakes, but nonetheless, that is an easy way to rule out them being big brakes. Regardless, pull off that caliper, pull off the brake pads, and then I went ahead and removed the caliper bracket. You don't have to do that. I just wanted to kind of make everything lighter. It sounds stupid, but I was going to keep those bolts anyway and make everything lighter as I throw it, so that way I'm not lugging a bunch of heavy stuff to the dumpster constantly. Once that's off, you can remove the pinch bolt for the ball joint. Don't forget, one side of that's going to be 18 and the other side's 15 on most of the setups. And the years do change a little bit with the sizes, but most of the cars came with a 15 and an 18. So keep that in mind and you'll be all set. Once you have that set, loosen the jam nut on the tie rod end and get that all squared away. Remove the nut from the bottom of the tie rod at the knuckle there, whack it with a hammer, and you'll free it right up. From there, you can simply remove the bolts for the strut, and you'll be all set on that front. The knuckle will then come right out of the, I guess, the little pinch area of the strut. Make sure that you don't forget that lonely little bolt on the back side of the strut that holds the brake hose to the strut itself. This is something that's oftentimes overlooked by people, and then you're yanking and yanking on the strut because most of us don't pull the strut out from under the car. I guess some people might, but whatever. And then, lo and behold, you're yanking on your brake hose. So make sure you're not doing that. Get that little guy out of there, and that'll be huge. From there, you can simply take a hammer and give it kind of a tap from the bottom, and the whole knuckle will come free. Simple as that, guys. Nothing to this, and you're pretty much all set. You got most of it out by now.